Flx Matters, and this morning I am joined by Suffolk County Councillor John Goodwin. It's been a while since John has been around on our sofa, but he has finally found some time in his busy work schedule to come in and join us. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Sarah. It's not often young ladies want me on their sofa, so you have a brand new point there.
You've been on holiday though, haven't you?
No, I haven't.
Have you not? Are you not gone yet?
I'm going this Wednesday.
You're going this Wednesday,
Yeah.
so you're avoiding the last bits of the carnival frantic exercises.
Well, we've got a granddaughter getting married in America, so you've got to go to those sorts.
Are you taking the bike?
No.
No. All those trails.
If only.
Anyway, things have been very busy, I understand, at Suffolk County
Yeah.
Council, and you're pleased to announce, I believe, there's been some savings made.
Yes, we set a target, or a target was set of savings, and that has been met and slightly exceeded, which is rather good news. Of course, the hard thing is to continue to make savings, because we think the next government round of funding will be less again, and it is getting harder and harder. Traditionally, councils, both us and the district councils, have done a lot of nice to do things, but they're being looked at carefully all the while. One of the things that we no longer do is the country parks. Other people, when they look after those, and the money just is not there, so it has to be done.
Because obviously the savings that was set, what was the target to reach really? Because a lot of cost
23 million.
23 million.
A lot of money. We've rationalised a lot of the buildings. We've closed various ones. We've closed the Kerrison Training Centre out near Eye. We've closed the huge fire station complex at Colchester Road. That's all gone. It's now been demolished in actual fact. We're currently in the throes of closing St Edmund's House. That will go, and various other odds and ends of property which we've operated from, and you just have to do these things.
So the question is really, where has everyone gone from these buildings? Have they sadly lost their jobs,
Well,
or are they being relocated?
A lot of staff have gone because with a change of government we no longer have this terrible audit regime we used to have. There were teams and teams of people doing that, and it is a sad thing, but most jobs, there have been some redundancies, but most posts have gone through voluntary redundancy or retirement, and it is getting harder and harder, there's no doubt about that.
Sign of the times, really, isn't it?
Absolutely. Everybody has to work smarter, and there's absolutely no reason why councils and local authorities shouldn't be the same. The police are exactly the same. I went to the police authority meeting in Balstock on Friday, and they were saying, well, we got rid of various levels of management. Of course, the question is, well, why didn't you get rid of those before you backed up against the wall? Which applies to everybody, I suppose while things are okay, then you carry on.
We were discussing that with Graham that we've had it quite easy, really, haven't we, in Suffolk? We've been we've had a lot of stuff awarded to us. We've had it quite easy.
Yeah. It's like the stock market. Nobody rings a bell when it reaches the top, and nobody rings a bell when it reaches the bottom. But when you look back, historically, you think, actually, yes, we were okay. The last government, if you'd done things well, they would give you more money. But as we know, their money's run out. Everybody's money has run out. Margaret Thatcher once said, sooner or later, other people's money runs out.
Yeah.
And, it's certainly done that.
So in the future then, if we were to have a new government, what kind of changes could be made back again, or is this something that we've lost it forever?
I think leaner and fitter has got to be the order of the day. It's just, it's how it's got to be done. I mean, on the leaner and fitter, the county council are really going to town on new ways of working. I better put my hand up and declare an interest here. We used to have Suffolk Traded Services, which was design and print, grounds work, cleaning, catering, facilities management, which is looking after buildings, receptions, etc. That was all part of the county council. Now that's been taken over. It's a county council wholly owned company, but it operates totally separately. So I'm chairman of the board, and it is a whole new way of working for the staff. But most of the staff are really, really, really enthusiastic about it and keen to make it succeed. And I suppose I would say this, wouldn't I? But it has taken off. It's now called Eastern Facilities Management Solutions. I'm sure we could find an easier title than that. But school catering, for instance, which we do huge amounts of, and to go into the modern catering facilities in the schools, it's called EATS now. and it's just incredible, the portions the children get, and the hubbub. And one school, as a for instance, we had a daily target of £400. One day last week, £1,280.
That's good.
And the staff are just totally enthusiastic about it. There's a buzz, and I mean, that's fantastic. Grounds, I mean, that's going really, really well. We're picking up contracts. We're picking up contracts in Norfolk, Cambridge, Essex. I mean, again, we're spreading our wings. And it's just great. We're doing what's known as sparkle clean for builders, which is when they finish new homes or buildings or refurbish them. We go in and give them the final spit and polish. Perhaps not the spit, but certainly the polish. And that makes it work. We've just, this one's nothing to do with me, but Leading Lives have just taken over all the adult care, you know, people learning difficulties. That's going well. Again, there's a whole area of enthusiasm there. There's the, used to be White House Enterprises, I think it's now called Realise, but they again are on their own and doing really well and picking up business, so it's there to be done. Yeah. And it gives people a whole different outlook on life. The staff that are 2 Peter Cross, they maintain all their gold-plated council, you know, way of remuneration, etc., sick pay, all that sort of thing. But new staff coming in, unfortunately for them, are on a different package, but they know that when they start. Yeah. But it is just totally unsustainable.
Because there has been a question raised in the newspaper recently, should our local councils be able to claim any forms of remuneration? I mean, well, are you allowed your expenses?
As a county councillor, we get expenses. It's deemed to be 50% of what you would hope to earn if you had a proper job. I could not do a proper job and be a county councillor at the same time, because, as you of all people know, it's virtually a full-time occupation. The other thing we get is expenses. So, I mean, I said I went to Lowestoft to the police authority meeting on Friday. Well, obviously, I'm entitled to expenses to drive there and drive back. Yeah. It's a government set figure that we get. The district councils, they're not on as much as us, but they do a lot less meetings, and they're sort of normally evening ones. But they again, of course, get expenses. The poor old parish councils, they don't get anything at all. I would imagine if they travel somewhere, then they could perhaps get some expenses. But again, that's, you know, they have one meeting a month as a rule. Some of them not that much, and odd sort of committees that they sit on. But it's a thorny issue. You know, a lot of people say, well, they don't need to be paid. But our last Labour leader, who came from Lowestoft, he said you've either got to be the idle rich or the idle poor, which meant you can support yourself or you're on benefits, so it doesn't matter. And that's, you know, that's pretty much how it is.
So we've roughly covered new ways of working. Is there anything else in the new ways of working?
It's well, of course, it takes all the pressure off of the council, and as people leave, then leave, retire, etc., then the new people come in. So that there's always a churn of staff, and obviously people like cleaners come and go. A lot of cleaners will be young mums who do school cleaning. When the child moves to another school or something, or leaves school, then they go and get a different job. Yeah. So things like that, you know, it's a hard, cruel world out there. One of the big things that the new employees that they can't enjoy is the sick pay regime, because at the moment, I think it's true of police, local authorities, health service. If you don't fancy going to work, you just ring up, oh, I can't come in today, I'm not well. Well, in the real world, I think when we employed staff, it used to be 4 days before you got paid a day. So, and that's an inducement to carry on. But if you know full well you're going to get paid if you just ring in sick, then why wouldn't you? we're bringing in we're going to have an outside company run this for us, but a member of staff who thinks they're sick and need a day at home, etc., they can ring in, and then the people on the other end of the phone say, okay, sorry to hear that, we'll ring you back at 11 o'clock on your home phone, and we'll ring you back at 2 o'clock on your home phone, so that they can't go and, as you were mentioning earlier, you need a day on the beach. Well, you know, absolutely fine, but you shouldn't be doing that whilst you're being employed. So that's the sort of thing, you know, we're trying to get to grips with. I suppose, if you're honest, these things have been too lax, and people have got away with it for donkeys.
Because the other thing is, obviously, with these new ways of working, some would argue that the county council are now sort of like subletting a lot of stuff. So what role do the counties still have?
Well, we still have overall responsibilities.
Yeah.
The libraries, for instance, I think went live either on Friday or today. There's a, I can't remember what it's called, I'm sorry about old age, but there's a new form of working for them. And there's huge enthusiasm in the libraries, the fact that they're now going to be masters of their own destiny. But if that falls short, if that all goes pear-shaped, then the county council are still the responsible authority. And that runs true with everything.
Yeah.
Looking after the leading lives adult care, they have certain things that they're entitled to, and if leading lives don't make it work, then we would have to step in and do it. But you have to try and move forward, otherwise we'd all be playing with the horse and
Yes.
and the racing's player. So those you have to move forward. My last employer, who was probably over 40 years ago, he said to me, you can't stand still, you either have to move forwards or backwards, and backwards is no good to anybody. And I think that's how everything is. Everything evolves, and
everything has to evolve, especially with the fact that everything changes so rapidly nowadays because of the costs involved.
We're sitting here in a studio with two little tiny cameras which you could sort of slip in your pocket. Well, when cameras first came here, they used to be shoulder mounted, which is probably good progress for itself.
Absolutely. Now, you've told me to ask you about Felixstowe 100. I genuinely have no idea what Felixstowe 100 is. So, what is Felixstowe 100?
It's being run by our social care teams, adult community services. Traditionally, we've sort of said, well, we're the local authority, we know what we're doing, if you need help, we'll give it to you, etc., etc. But the way of the world now is which everybody's trying to keep people in their homes for as long as possible. So, if you've got a granny, she'd much rather be in her own home than she would in an old folks' home somewhere, watching television or nodding in front of her. So the Felixstowe 100 was an idea to try and find out just who is in our area being anything with IP11 postcode. So we've tried to contact all the voluntary and statutory bodies, like health services, doctors, for instance the Felixstowe Visiting Society, the Hope Trust, the Felixstowe Listening Service, all these people who do so much good work, but who knows where they are and what they do. All the women's institutes, the progress clubs, the young people's uniform thing like Army, Air Cadets, Naval Cadets, sports clubs, to try and get all of those people together. I mean, when we say sports, you could have a young lad chasing a bed like a loony playing football, or you can have somebody of slightly more advanced years playing bowls. Yeah. But where are they and how do you get the introduction? So we're trying to get all those people together and registered so we know who does what and who offers what, and then you can work together in a more joined up fashion. So if somebody wants, somebody's lonely, loneliness is the most awful thing, I think, and you get an old person who's lonely. If you can get them into the Hope Trust, then they'll see, they become friends, and you make friends. And a lovely little, for instance, the last time I was around there, there's an elderly gentleman there absolutely laughing his socks off, and he'd been lonely for years, but he'd suddenly found out where to go, and off he used to go, and now he just calls in. And his little tale of amusement was, he'd reported his car stolen the day before, which is nice. And the police had been round and everybody had been sympathetic and they were really, really sorry, etc. And if he wanted lifts, everybody would give him a lift. The next day, he went back to the co-op to pick up his newspaper, and there was his car. He'd forgotten he'd left it the day previous. And I think that's absolutely lovely. And instead of this guy being all embarrassed and everything else, he just thought that was wonderful. And he kept saying, silly old fool, aren't I? But he was among friends. Yeah. And everybody had a good smile about it, and that's the sort of thing. And I mean, that will give that man a lift, and everybody. It's
like the one down on Orwell Road, next door to the surgery. You've got the building down there, which is absolutely fantastic. Yeah. You go in there. I was like, I wish I was over 60, so I could go and hang out in there.
I mean, Richard and Jenny Hollands predominantly run that, and they do so much work. When we changed governments, they talked about the big society. Well, Felixstowe is the big society because we've got so many people, and my wife is treasurer of the Felixstowe Bowls Club, and if the same person dares to win a raffle prize sort of 2 weeks running, Then there's always a crowd with the same old faces, same old faces.
Yes.
But if there's anything voluntary in Felixstowe, it is the same old faces.
Oh, yes.
They're always there. We've got our anti-brigade who moan about everything, and they're anti this, anti that, whatever you suggest, they're anti it. But then we've got all these other side of the coin, and far more of them. These fantastic people who volunteer week in, week out, all sorts of different organisations. And
has Suffolk Coastal and Suffolk County Council ever thought to sort of maybe use Felixstowe's voluntary sector as a whole as an example for other places?
Well, that's what the
Because
Felixstowe
that's,
100 is. That's what we're trying to do. And I spoke to the lady, Mary Milne, I think, who runs Age UK or Age Concern, whatever it is, Age UK, isn't it? And she's very, very interested, and she wants to know what's happening. So if it works in Felixstowe, and I really hope it will, then it will be replicated elsewhere. There's a programme, it's going to start again in Bury St Edmunds to see if they can do it there, which of course is still Suffolk. So Suffolk leads, as they say. But it's just, often these things are in the bracket of the blindingly obvious, but they're not blindingly obvious until somebody tells you you do them, you know.
Yeah.
And it's all that sort of thing, you know. The blindingly obvious, if you're riding your bicycles, look left and right before you cross them, you cross the road. But sometimes you have to be told these things, you know.
Yeah.
When you lay in the middle of the road in a soggy heap, and somebody says, "Why didn't you look?" You know. But
absolutely.
this is this is what we're trying to do. It's I hate council speak, but it's joined up working. You know? And the ex-clerk of the town council, she was a great one for partnerships. Right? I think some partnerships are absolutely rubbish, but these ones I think.
Because it also means
really
if you're
help.
working together, you can work together on funding and things like that. You can work together on fundraising as well. So there is a lot in Felixstowe that goes unnoticed.
I mean, it might get to a position, if you like, where perhaps the county council can give an organisation a grant, and they give, I don't know, gearing. Say you give an organisation £100, or what they do would cost you £200 if you'd done it through the council. It's all those sort of things. I mean, they're just a rough, for instance, but it really is. It's a way we've got to move forward. And,
absolutely.
You know, all the old folks, care homes, etc., etc. People do chair-based exercise. You think, well, a load of rubbish, but it isn't, because
It's not when you see it actually in action.
Oh, no. and people just get so much from it, and it's a company thing again.
I also think it will help to kind of break the stereotype of Felixstowe as well, because people do have that opinion of the town that it's set up purely for people to come here and retire. But when I saw the Olympic torch relay, I was actually stunned to see the amount of young people actually in the high street.
Fantastic.
And I think if anybody hasn't already seen it, our video of it, because obviously I filmed the whole thing, if you watch that, you will see such a diversity of people in Felixstowe all watching the same thing. But the bit that got me was outside all of our care homes, there were all the elderly people waving their flags, but they were in amongst all the young people. And it just showed the whole of what Felixstowe actually has in that one day, I think.
But what a period this is for our country. I mean, you've got I know it's over a year ago, but you've got Kate and William getting married, you've got the Queen's Diamond Jubilee, you've got the Olympics, you've got Bradley Wiggins yesterday, won the Tour de France. You know,
I know, that was incredible.
And the French not always the most complimentary about the English, but I mean, they call him Le Gentleman, because
we've
he's
now
such
got
a
an
gentleman.
English world champion in tennis as well, because they won the doubles. Everyone
Yes,
keeps
they did,
forgetting that.
Oh,
They go, we haven't got an English tennis champion. We have. They won the doubles.
I mean, it's just such a fantastic year. I mean, hopes are high for the Olympics. We'll be away on holiday, going to America. So, an American television, if it isn't American, then it hasn't happened. So,
it would be very interesting to see what coverage you actually are able to see while you're over there. It'd be interesting to come back and say, well, we never saw much. Because the Americans are quite good at the end.
If America, like yesterday, was the golf, which leaves me totally cold, I really do take the view that it's a good walk spoiled.
I don't like golf.
Somebody, I think it was Ernie Els, wherever he comes from, won it. But if an American had won it, it would be all over the TV screens. But as I don't think Ernie Els is American, he might be. But say, for instance, if he's not an American, then they will be playing old films of when an American did win something. And they just, I admire them, because they're so gung-ho about anything American, and nothing else exists.
It'll be interesting to see what you get as your result of the Olympics while you're over there.
Well, we just get the view of some glorious American winning a medal.
We'll just be hoping that we wouldn't be watching it. I'm dreading the Olympic coverage. I really am. It's just going to be.
It's going to be wall to wall.
It's going to be wall to wall. Oh, I like the Olympics, but not every single one of them. Couple of last things we've got to round off. Parking spaces. We've always been discussing the parking spaces.
We have.
I'm going to be honest, not many people have heard about this. I pointed it out to my mum the other day. She said, what do you mean extra parking spaces? Where has that been advertised?
Well, they haven't been advertised. There's no point. You don't have to advertise them, but they're there. So if you're looking for a spot, then you should be able to see that, you know, where henceforth there was double yellow lines, now they're parking bays. For instance, outside the Salvation Army, there's some being put there. I think there's about 80 odd throughout the town. All these things are torturous when you have to do it through a council. You have to consult upon it, which is first off you have to decide if you can afford to do it, if you want to do it. Then you have to consult upon it. Then if anybody comes up with a complaint, things like parking regulation, which is called traffic regulation orders, have to come before Rights of Way Committee, which
I know all about that.
So if it's anything to do with that, then it has to get into our programme, and you know, obviously we're running months and months ahead, so everything takes an inordinate amount of time. And if you get an officer who says, well, that's not really a priority, so they haven't done all their work, and it's amazing how long it takes, and it's so frustrating. But we have at long last got it done. But of course, once it's been through Rights of Way and we've approved it, obviously, or otherwise, if we don't approve it, it doesn't happen. But once it's been through Rights of Way, then we have to wait for the gangs to be appointed, because obviously they're not sitting around the corner in their van
Nope.
with a lot of hot white paint to put on the roads. So it has to be fed into the programme. So everything takes a frustratingly long.
I think we've been talking about it since before Christmas, haven't we? So it's
long before that.
It's taken a long time.
This should have been done to coincide with the shared space, but unfortunately, due to pressures of work or whatever, the work wasn't done. I mean, it's a black mark really for the county council, but we didn't do it. Now, hallelujah, we have done it, and you know, those spaces are there.
So are you involved in any of this, the free after 3 parking?
Yeah, I think it's a very good idea.
Are you being involved in any of this?
Well, only as a member of the Chamber of Trade, but I think it's a really fantastic idea, because the town does, in fairness, sort of die after about 3 o'clock, and if you could have it at 3, can't even say it.
It's going to be a mouthful.
After 3, that would be a few stoves. If parking in the car parks was free after 3 o'clock, then that would hopefully encourage the young mums and grannies, etc., who picked up the children from school to come into town and spend a bit of money.
Because they used to, they don't anymore, you know.
Yeah. The other very good idea, which came from Carol Jones, who runs Glyph, she said, why on earth can't you buy a ticket down on the seafront for an all-day ticket, and then come up and park on Crescent Road, for instance, or Ramler Road car parks, and enjoy the use of the same ticket, and then clear off back down the seafront. You know, like if you got an 8-hour ticket, you got an 8-hour ticket. And some cheerful souls said, oh, well, they're all marked up differently. But obviously the people who hand out the parking penalties, they would have the wit to see if it's an in-date Suffolk Coastal ticket, and they could do it. So those... Dave Ball from the Sweet Hut and the guy whose name escapes me from Piro's, they went across to see Andrew Nunn, who's a portfolio holder for parking at Suffolk Coastal, and he didn't say yes, but he was quite amenable, and he certainly didn't say no. So we're hoping that those, you know, simple things.
Because the linking the town to the seafront is one of the ticking of the boxes for Flixo Futures as well.
Yeah, but it's
so there's a lot that's riding on this, really.
But the finances are just, you know, where on earth.
But realistically, if someone actually was to look into it, how much would they lose in someone doing that? I mean, are the car parks in the town used enough?
Oh, the car park.
Do you know what I mean? What's the balance of it?
That's a given, and I think you know, Suffolk Coast rely on car parking money, of course they do. But it would be nice, that gesture, and obviously if they give that however many thousands of pounds back to the community, they've got to make it up somewhere else. One suggestion was, could you they're going to lose after 3 o'clock, because Suffolk Coastal car parks are cheap.
Yeah, but then everyone's going to pile into town when it's free.
Well, yes, but not everybody can they?
No.
So it's, I mean, if you go to Ipswich or Brace and Evans, it's horrendous, the parking prices. On the other side of the coin, Baber District Council, if you go to Hagley or Sudbury, it's free. You just have to get a ticket. You get, I don't know how long you get.
So how have they managed to do that? Then there must be something else that the town are paying for.
Different ways that they run themselves, that's all, different priorities. So,
to wait and see.
Indeed.
Town promotion. I did talk to Andrew Roden about the new Visit Felixstowe website, but you tell me there's something else coming up as well. For promotion of Felixstowe outside of our area.
Trying our best on the outside, or some of us are. And as County Councillors, we're sort of mulling over the idea of getting a little booklet made, a glossy booklet in an A5 size, which is half A4. Just to print it as a one-off, to list all the companies, all the shops, all the businesses, everything, all the clubs in Felixstowe. It's a huge piece of work and we need to get on with it as soon as we can. But it's a thought to try and promote who's here, because the people who really, well, some of the people who really annoy you say, oh, there's nothing to do in Felixstowe. Well, there's more clubs than you would take a stick at in Felixstowe, catering for everything, I mean, if you want to do, I don't know, quilting, for instance, there's 2 or 3 clubs for those. There's dancing of every sort.
But how would that help with tourism overall? Because
if you need to get those out,
yeah.
So you get them out into other TICs. The co-op, who are very, very good at the moment, with their new manager Darren Wash, he says if you want anything out into a co-op store or into a TIC on an area that they serve, they'll courier them out for us. So I mean, all right, it may only be small stuff, but who's got time to run to Southwold, Leiston, Haverhill, putting out Felixstowe leaflets, but they co-op together every day. So, little things like that. There is a spirit of trying to help.
Yeah, I was going to say, because the other thing as well is with proposed new developments, because we've got the pier here on our last one, I mean, the investment that's going on down at Landguard for the new visitors area down there, which I have my own opinions on that. The new pier, obviously the seafront gardens. We have the new south end of the seafront is underway. I think that's completion 2014. That's going to be quite a way off before that's up. First of all, the pier. I mean, what do you think about this new pier?
I think it's fantastic.
Idea?
A really good thing. Mr. Threadwell owns other piers, and he certainly's made them successful, and they're certainly good. So I hope it does come to fruition. The doomsayers are saying, well, it will affect the spa, if indeed the spa is still there. But you've got to move on. At the moment, if you want a big venue, the only one you've got, theatre-wise, is the spa, which is, some people say it's far too big. If you want to hold a function, it's the all well or nothing else.
Yeah.
And I think if Mr. Threadwell gets that built, then there's room for all of those.
There's also complaints about where it's going to be positioned. Well, you've been looking at a derelict pier now for centuries almost, and it's not been up and running. I think 20 odd years that hasn't been actually running properly as a pier, and they're all complaining that it's going to be an eyesore. Well, I'm sorry, but we need something in this town built soon. We need something to draw people down here, and I think it's just incredibly selfish to a degree of those that are moaning about it. There was a big article in the Evening Star really which said, come on guys, stop it. It's just, I thought it was one that I think Richard wrote it, and it was spot on. It was, why is it the moment someone tries to build something in this town, everybody complains? Well,
to be fair, Sarah, it's not everybody. It's the same people,
but it's the same people by and large.
I just think it's really, probably shouldn't say this, but the old, wouldn't that have been a fantastic place for the skate park?
Well, the other thing as well is, I mean, the boating lake, there's a lot of contention around that, because we're obviously very aware of there were plans put in for that place, and that could have been up and running by this summer, and that was stalwart everywhere it went. Every department it had to go through just took their time on it, didn't make decisions, and now look, the opportunity to turn that into a beautiful area is lost, and we're going to be facing it used as a building site for the time being when the pier's underway, and we could even lose it all completely because they're talking about having it as the overspill car park. Well, I think those that had put the plans in for the boating lake have got a lot to answer for. Wow. They could have had a gorgeous thing down there.
People put plans in and they just take a long way. As I said earlier, unfortunately with councils you just think, why does everything take so long? And I would like to think perhaps some things could be fast-tracked, but no doubt.
I think that maybe might be your new way of working. I think maybe looking into this, if you need an investment in the town, someone's prepared to chuck a whole load of money at making something pretty, get it done.
I mean, as we've said before, planning is very much the remit of Suffolk Coast, and you know, I don't get involved in it, and don't know how it goes. But sometimes these things do take an awful long while. I mean, we were talking last night about the Routemaster site. Apparently Premier Travelling wanted to put a hotel there, and that was the debate with for so long, and I guess now they don't, which is, you know, I mean, that's another eyesore. And you come into Felixstowe and there's this ghastly building falling apart.
Yep.
You know. Hey-ho.
You see, maybe there should be an overhaul in the planning department.
I could not possibly comment, but I will not comment. So,
anyway, once again, John, it has been a pleasure. I think we're seeing you when you get back from holiday, aren't we?
Are we?
Well, yeah, just before the carnival kicks
I must
off.
put a note in.
Put a note in your diary.
The carnival is really going well at the moment. I feel like we're out deserting the ship because I should be here doing, but unfortunately.
We may have to
hopefully
your T-shirt.
one's granddaughters only get married once, so this is our first grandchild, and obviously it's the first one getting married, so I really want to be there.
I was going to say, you can't miss out on that one. Well,
I
anyway.
wish to keep my head on my shoulders.
Exactly. Well, anyway, once again, thank you very much for coming in, John.
It's my pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.
For having me.
No worries. And thank you all for watching. And like I said, we will have John in a few weeks' time. And we are going to be out and move, in fact, for Suffolk County Councillors and Coastal District Councillors, because they're all coming in over the next 3 or 4 weeks. So you will be inundated with lots of updates on what's going on in Felixstowe. But once again, thank you very much for tuning in and watching. And I'll see you all again soon. Thank you.